Hello, everybody. In this video, we're going to be talking about my first experience with the plant medicine ayahuasca and my four big insights that I received from this particular plant medicine. So, this has been my seventh plant medicine experience. If you want to see what happened with the other ones, please have a look at the link below. I have got a playlist that is titled Plant Medicine. So, I have also had plant medicine with San Pedro. I've had it with psilocybin, Syrian rue, DMT, MEO5. So I've done all those ones, but this is the first time with ayahuasca. And oh my God, it was epic. Absolutely epic. I am really glad that I didn't do this one first. I'm really glad that I started with psilocybin because my ayahuasca experience was probably the scariest thing I've ever done, but I do not regret it. I'm very, very grateful that I had the experience. I'm very glad that I had the experience. I'm going to tell you all about it. Please subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be talking more about my spiritual growth and experiences and transformations and insights um, very regularly. So, first of all, in terms of plant medicine is an ancient indigenous sacred medicine that has been used for thousands of years by the indigenous cultures. And unfortunately, they've had a bad rap because they're referred to as psychedelics, and people don't really understand the transformative power of psychedelics, although governments now are understanding the power and they are putting funding into this work. I also want to say that I do not condone the use of these plant medicines in a setting that is recreational, and I do not condone the use of these plant medicines if you don't have an experienced facilitator or shaman. There's no way known that I would have done any of this if it wasn't with an experienced facilitator or shaman. And the intention was always about my spiritual growth. It wasn't to get my rocks off. Because these medicines are way, 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 way too important to be treated lightly. They need to be treated with the respect and the sacredness that they deserve. And so I've been wanting to have ayahuasca for 2 years now, ever since I discovered it as I was watching documentaries on the subject. And I knew that I wanted to do it. I was determined to do it. I had a calling to do it. And that's what usually happens with plant medicine, is that there is a calling to actually go down this path. And it wasn't ayahuasca that came my way to begin with. It was psilocybin, otherwise known as magic mushrooms. And that first experience completely transformed my life, the way that I saw my life, the way that I made decisions in my life, the way I conducted myself in my business and in my personal life completely turned on its head. So you can see that in the playlist. And it's been massive. The growth has been absolutely incredible, huge. But today I'm going to be talking about ayahuasca because finally, after 2 years of wanting to do this medicine, it finally came to me. And like I said before, the actual experience itself was the worst 2 nights of my life, but it needed to happen. I needed to do it. I know that I needed to do it in order to step into my mission work. I have felt a bit stuck of late in terms of showing up to the world. I used to show up in social media every single day. And then as I was going through this spiritual growth and I had my first plant medicine experience a couple of years ago, I decided that I needed to retreat, renew, and really only show up when I had something important to say. So I do have something important to say. I am going to be showing up regularly. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll be sharing the truths that have become apparent to me from a spiritual perspective. So please subscribe and let's buckle in for the ride. So, first thing that I would like to say is if you have any doubts about doing plant medicine, then don't do it. You really need to have a calling. For me, there was no doubt about it. I needed to do this because I knew that this was somehow going to catapult me to the next level of my spiritual growth. And it did. It absolutely has. It's been an incredible, amazing, beautiful journey. Very difficult, very challenging. I've had to face my fears in the face. I've had to strip off all my masks. I've had to see myself without all the bullshit, and it hasn't been easy, but it's been so worth it. Okay, so let's get down to the ayahuasca experience. I had this experience with a dear friend of mine. We went together to an experienced facilitator who has been doing this for many years, and we buckled in for the ride. So, for those of you who don't know, ayahuasca happens during the night, not during the day. And so, the first night we started at 7 p.m. and it went all the way until 4 a.m. The second night it started at 6 p.m. and went all the way until 5 a.m. And this medicine really gives you what you need, not necessarily what you want. To be honest, I was very surprised because I thought that I have done so much healing, so much work on myself. I am at a place now where I'm really happy with my life. I love my partner. Everything's going really well. I've made these incredible choices since having my first plant medicine experience where I'm really happy with the way everything is flowing. And so I did not expect to be confronted with what I was confronted with. And so what I was confronted with were all my fears, every single one of them. Now, interestingly enough, I'll just go back a bit before the actual ayahuasca ceremony, which was almost like a precursor to the actual event itself. So a couple of days before heading down to do the ayahuasca ceremony, it was about 5:30 in the morning. It was dark, and I was walking to my local gym because the way that I live my life now, I don't need to drive. I just walk. And I was walking to my local gym, and as I was walking to my gym on the main road, there were no people because it was 5:30 in the morning. Somebody was coming down the side street, and we almost arrived exactly at the same time at the intersection, and he was carrying a big baseball bat. And of course, I was afraid. And we had an exchange. I ended up running away, getting away from him. Not that he was going to harm me, but he was holding a baseball bat. So potentially he could have, and he was ranting and raving. And then I finally got into the safety of the gym. And that little scene was almost like a precursor because it was like, wow, what am I afraid of? Do I honestly believe that that person was going to swing that baseball bat and hit me over the head and kill me? Like, of course not. I've got work to do on this planet. He's not going to do that. And yet it showed up my fears. It showed up the fear that I have about dying, which I thought after my plant medicine experiences that I didn't hold those fears anymore because the other realm is such an amazing, beautiful realm to be in. Like there's nothing to fear because it's all eternal. But yet the human in me was afraid. And so it was almost like, okay, so I'm heading to an ayahuasca ceremony in 2 days. This is now showing me that I actually do have fears in my body that need to be dealt with. And oh my God. So that was what happened before. And then we went to the ayahuasca ceremony and it was instantaneous for me. So I had done a lot of research. I'd seen a lot of documentaries on ayahuasca. I knew that it was better if I didn't lie down, that I stilled my mind as much as possible, that I sat up. By this stage of my life, unlike 2 years ago, I do meditate regularly. I meditate twice a day, which helped me enormously with the ceremony because I was able to remain still for most of the period and just allow the experience to really work its magic. And now I'm going to tell you about the 4 major insights that I had with this particular ceremony. The first one is that every single boundary can be broken. That every single rule that we have in our life is just a construct and was just made up by somebody. Everything can be broken. Every single decision has a belief that surrounds it. You know, whether you tip the waiter or not will show you whether you've been programmed to believe that there is lack in the world. Do you believe you're in lack and that's why you can't tip the waiter? Do you believe that you are not deserving of love and is that why you are still single? Do you believe that um, everything is an opportunity for your heart to expand and make a difference in the world? So there are so many constructs and programs that we have, and every single one of these constructs can be broken. If we go to the very basic stuff, why is it, you know, now this might seem really weird, what I'm about to say, but this is what this was all about. Everything was really friggin' weird. And in a minute, I'm going to actually tell you how I saw myself in the whole experience, but I'll just tell you about this first insight first, which is when we walk our pets or our dogs, you know, the dog might go up to a tree and have a wee. And we don't think anything of it. We're not like, oh my God, that dog is having a wee. How can that dog do that in public? Because our social construct says that animals can wee in public and we don't think anything of it. Our social construct says our programming is that men can walk around topless and nobody will think anything of it. But the rule is that for most places and most countries, women can't do that. And why is that? It's a belief that we have formed, it's programming that we have received. So why can't we walk down the street and go by a tree and do a wee if we want to without breaking some kind of law? And that might seem ridiculous, but this is what ayahuasca showed me. It showed me that every single little rule that we hold, every single little belief that we have is a belief that has been deeply, deeply programmed within us. And what I actually saw was the projection. So if you can imagine, it's a very uncomfortable experience, and that is one of the reasons as to why it was so frightening, because it's very uncomfortable. I was actually sitting in the middle of like a hologram where everything was projected around me and sort of felt very stuck and very imprisoned. So it was like I was the prisoner stuck in the middle of a hologram that was projected out by my ego around me to create my world. And everything is vibrating like this. So it's like this feeling where everything around me is like this. And all you can see are these um, holographic sort of pictures all around, and it feels very, very, very frightening because you don't feel grounded. You feel that the whole universe is spinning around you and you are in the center and it's just a projection, and there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of beliefs and programming that we have had from a very, very, very young age. And so every time a belief was shown to me and I would see that belief, there would be another one directly underneath it, another one directly underneath that, another one directly underneath that. It was like infinite. We think we only have one belief, like, I don't believe that I am worthy, as an example, but then there's a belief under that. Oh, I only believe that I am worthy if I am at a certain weight. Oh, and the belief under that is it's attractive to be a certain weight. And the belief under that is that you're not in control of your world or yourself if you're carrying more weight. And then there's a belief under that. And you just keep going under and under and under and under. And we have all these programs and systems and layers and layers and layers that we just need to friggin' let go of, because it is suffocating holding on to these belief systems that keep us stuck. Now, since my first plant medicine ceremony 2 years ago, I have been systematically releasing beliefs and I'm still going. It still hasn't stopped. Every time I think that that's the end of it, there's another layer, and then that layer is even worse, and then there's another layer. And we really need to be aware, start becoming aware of how we think and what is that actual thought based on? What is it based on? It's based on programming that you have received, that your mother's received, that your grandmother's received, that your ancestors have received, that have come through the ages to you so that now you believe. In order to be accepted in society, I need to be slim. In order to be accepted in society, I need to be smart. In order to be accepted in society, I need to have a job. In order to be accepted in society, I need to have a partner. Whatever it is, it just doesn't end. There's an endless amount of programs, an endless amount of um, limits that we place on ourselves in terms of what is okay and what isn't okay. Woohoo! Now, I could take that one so much further, but let's get on to the three other massive insights or revelations. I think that they're more revelations than insights because, I don't know, an insight seems like something you could just, with ayahuasca and with other plant medicine ceremonies, the difference between insights and revelations is that with an insight, it's something you can come to, you can arrive at with just some contemplating, but a revelation is like it's almost like, oh no, this is the way it really works. And it's almost like you can't put it in words because it's not just information that comes to you, it's recognizing and feeling what it feels like to be in another realm, and the other realm is the reality and this is the illusion. And that is really mind blowing. I'm writing a book about it because it is so freaking mind blowing and it just doesn't end in terms of where you can take it. All right. So, insight number 2 is here it is: nothing is definite. Nothing is definite. And it almost is on top of that previous one because every layer has another layer underneath it and on top of it. So, there is no definite about anything. So it's funny, like if you go back and see my first plant medicine video, which I did 2 years ago on psilocybin, you know, I had this belief that I knew everything because I was in the other realm and I saw so many things and everything opened up to me and this is the way it really works. But the fact is, the more you know, the more you realize that you actually don't know. So that was very naive of me to think that I knew everything just because I had that first psilocybin experience. But that's what spiritual ego does to you. It will monetize and not monetize, weaponize everything. It will monetize it if it can, believe me, but it will weaponize everything it can to its favor. And so it will try and make you feel better by knowing something. But the fact is, we don't know shit. We really don't know shit. But I'm going to give you the revelations anyway. And so that nothing is definite. Every single thing that you think is definite, there is no definite. There is no black and white. There is no right and wrong. And you might say, oh, of course there's wrong. There are people who are murdering children. That's wrong. You have to understand, and this is not a justification. This is not a justification, that there is a higher perspective to everything. Everything that's going on in the planet, no matter how tragic it appears in our human perspective, when you understand that we are eternal and that this lifetime is one play and we're going to come back for another play and we're going to come back for another play, we know that nothing can actually be bad. It's just an experience. So let me give you an example about nothing is definite. So for instance, you might have a belief in lack. You might believe that you don't have enough money. Underneath that belief is a spiritual ego working to and wants people to know that you are actually giving money to someone else, so that therefore you're a kind person. Underneath that belief might be that you might feel that by giving to someone else, you're going to receive something back, like positive karma. Again, that's another belief. Underneath that, you could actually help yourself feel good if you're giving money to someone else. But at the very core, you give to the world because there is no other option. There's no reason. And so there's many layers to this belief of lack. Now, I don't know if I've explained that really well, because that wasn't really planned in terms of the way that I said that. It's it if it's a bit complicated, don't worry about it. Just move on. But all I'm trying to show you is that there is no belief that is an absolute fact. There is no definite. There is always layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. You know, the example that I just gave, we might be giving money because we think we're a good person and we give to the poor. But underneath that, we might want people to see us giving money. Underneath that, we might just want to feel good about ourselves to give money. Underneath that, we want good things to happen to us. Underneath that, we are just giving money because we want to give money, and you know, we can't, there is no other option. So there are so many layers to everything. And so that was just one example that I tried to show you about these layers. Insight number 3 is that everyone on this planet is family. Everyone on this planet is family. So when you hear about, I just saw that as an example, some people that I knew that are going through some hard times, and they're going through hard times because of choices that they made. And so before going into this ceremony, it was like, oh, here we go again. She's actually making that decision again. She's actually put herself in this place again. Is she never going to learn? That is being righteous, and that is not being loving. And so what I saw in my ayahuasca ceremony is everybody is our brothers and sisters and children. Everybody, we're all connected. And because people are making decisions that are not to their highest good, you know, we can still be there for them to hold space. We can still be there for them to hold them. We can still be there for them just to send them love. We can be there for them because we are all connected. Everyone is our family. That's the way that it needs to move towards, that person is suffering. They're suffering through the human experience, and it might be through their choice and their actions that have led to this suffering, but they're still suffering and they're still our brothers and sisters, and we do need to open up our heart to them. And this is what I saw in insight number 3, that we need to look after each other. Even those that look like they've made the wrong choices, we need to look after each other. Even our people that we deem have done bad things in this world, they're going through a cycle of karma that they're stuck in. How can we send them love? How can we stop the cycle of evil? Not by branding them a bad person and punishing them. That's not how we stop the cycle, because then we're doing bad stuff and then the cycle's continuing. Insight number 4 with my ayahuasca ceremony is coming up soon. But before I tell you insight number 4, please make sure you subscribe. I am going to be showing up regularly now. I have got a lot to share. There's so much that's happened in my life. There's so many insights that I've implemented in a practical way that has made the most massive difference in my life. I've never had as much peace and love in my heart that I'm holding right now. And that's basically because of the way that I've applied my learnings into my day-to-day existence. And these are the videos that I am going to be coming in and doing for you on a regular basis. So please subscribe to this channel. Okay, so the final insight. Now, I've said 4 insights or revelations in terms of this ayahuasca ceremony, but there are many more. There's no way that I could possibly write everything down or, you know, tell you everything. It was just way too massive, way too huge. It was very frightening. I felt very sick during the whole friggin' time. Like I really wanted to vomit, but I couldn't. But I was making these wretched sounds that sounded like I was vomiting, but I wasn't. And there was a lot that was going on behind the scenes, a lot that I have not mentioned. But let's just go with the fourth revelation, the fourth insight. And I know that many in the spiritual community will actually go, that's not true. That doesn't resonate with me. If it doesn't resonate with you, take it with a grain of salt. Don't worry about it. If it does, fantastic. It's all good. There's no right, there's no wrong. This is just my perspective. This is the way that I saw everything come to me. And that is insight number 4 is that the ego has no place. And now this is something that I have changed my opinion on, because previously I felt like, well, we're human, so as part of the human experience, we need to have an ego because the ego keeps us safe. That is another story. That's another story that's no longer relevant in our current times. We don't need the ego to keep us safe. We have our intuition that keeps us safe. So the ego has no place. It's time to let it go. That doesn't mean that we get down on ourselves for having ego. That doesn't mean that we expect that we just decide and the ego disappears the next day. But what it does mean is it's time to really start observing the ego in ourselves, and every decision and every choice that we make, is this ego or is this ego, or is this our soul that's making this decision? The example that I gave earlier about giving to the homeless, like if you're walking down the street and there are homeless on the street, um, when you're giving them money, is it from ego? In other words, do you want other people to see you giving the money? Or is it because you know that they're your brothers and sisters and they need your help? Because then that's from your soul. So being very aware of what's ego driven and what's not ego driven. And the more we don't put energy into the ego, the more the ego just starts to dissolve, the more that we ascend to a different level of consciousness. And I know that many people won't agree with me, that there are many, many people who think that the ego has a role in our society. I just don't agree with that. I just don't agree with it anymore. That might have been the case 100 years ago, 50 years ago, but it's not the case now. We don't need it. We really, really don't need it. It's all the egoic beliefs are being programmed into us from thousands and thousands of years of evolution, and we don't need it. We don't need to move into the new world, the new earth, with this ego being all about separation and all about me, 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 and what's in it for me. We can move forward with, what do we need to do for the collective good? What do we need to do to open our hearts up to everybody around us? What do we need to do to open our hearts up to ourselves first? Because if we don't open up our heart to ourselves, then we can't open our heart to everybody else. So I would really love to hear your opinion. I would really love to have your thoughts. I would like you to just subscribe to this channel, as I'm going to be coming on regularly and sharing my perspective. And the perspective is a different perspective to what I had some time ago. It is changing all the time. It is growing all the time. Very, very deep in my spiritual practice. It's the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me is that I leave this earth and I've done what I said I was going to do when I was down here. There's nothing more important to me than that. And so as I go along this path and I stumble and I fall and I have insights about the choices and decisions I make, I'd like you to come along for the ride. So, yeah. That's me. That's ayahuasca. There's so much more. But at this stage, that's all I'm prepared to divulge. And yeah, would love to hear any questions you have about anything. I will answer them. Any thoughts? And yeah, if you do want to hate on me or disagree with something I've said, just remember that's got nothing to do with me. And that's all about what's going on with you. And we have to lead from the heart and have an open heart towards ourselves and humanity. Sending you so much love.